Hello, another fat bearded man talking about records, otherwise known as Headley. And as my name dictates, I'm here to talk about records. I'm working away from home at the moment. I'm cooped up in my hotel room, little pokey room. Got tea and coffee making facilities, so that's all right. Nothing much to say. There's a TV. So I thought what I'd do is I would bring some records with me that I picked up recently, and on the long winter evenings, we're not really in winter now, are we? We're getting into spring, and the evenings aren't as long as they were in the winter. So anyway, forget I said that. So I thought anyway I'd bring some records and record a video or possibly two. See how it goes. And give me something to do on the evening. So these are a collection of records I've got from various sources, the internet, from an antique emporium, from charity shops. So starting with the first record, this is called Silver Roads, Australian Country Rock and Singer-Songwriters of the 1970s. This is a double album set. And it's from 2014, I think, on Festival Records, which is an Australian label. I'm surprised it's an Australian label because I know it's Australian bands, but I thought it might have been, a kind of a European or American release for, to introduce them to Australian bands. Now, I understand from Dean, one of my Antipodean chums, that a lot of these bands actually are quite rare. We've got bands, let's have a look at some of the names. The Flying Circus, Richard Clapton, I wonder if he's related. Fotheringay, not that one. Digby Richards, that's very Australian. Sundown, Quinn, Daddy Cool, Auto Drifters, Billy Thorpe and the Aztecs. Stars anyway. Oh, the Dingoes. Yeah, there's got to be a band called the Dingoes, hasn't there? And probably the most Australian song on here is a song called The Birth of the Ute. Ute is the utility vehicle, so it's like a truck. I'm showing I've watched a lot of Neighbours and Home and Away in my days. Anyway, so a very nice collection of 70s country rock or country themed kind of singer-songwriters. Really worth a look out. Yeah, I contacted Dean and I've sort of made a comment about maybe some of these could be picked up, but apparently a lot of them are really kind of rare even in Australia and cost quite a bit. So anyway, it's a nice collection to have. I've only listened to it through once, but I'm going to give it a listen at the weekend when I get home and I've got a record player. Okay, on to the second record. This is Charlie Daniels, T. John Grease and Wolfman. I think this is his second album from 1972 on Kama Sutra. And for those of you who are only really familiar with Charlie Daniels in his Charlie Daniels Band guise for Devil Went Down to Georgia, this is a very, very different album. I would actually say it's a more soulful album, funky soul stuff going on here. I suppose a bit sort of Allman Brothers-esque maybe, but it's a really, really fine album. And if you think you know Charlie Daniels, and of course his politics today are a bit dodgy, and if you disagree with him, because this is before he went all country rock, really. It's got country elements, of course, because he's a fiddle player, but it also has, it's before he went to the sort of southern rock kind of element. Well, he was one of the people that kind of made the sound, I suppose. So yeah, that's Charlie Daniels, T. John Grease and Wolfman. Did I say what it's from? 1973? No, it's not. It's 1972, sorry. And another one, Charlie Daniels, Uneasy Rider. Kind of similar. It's maybe a bit more countrified, this one, especially the track Uneasy Rider, which is kind of a talking song about a hippie breaking down out in the in hillbilly country, and and the fun that ensues as a result. This is actually from 1976, but it's a repressed album. I say a repress. It's a re-released version of an album called Honey in the Rock, which was released in 1973. So this one, unlike the last one, this one I picked up and it was sealed, so nice copy. Although, weirdly, it didn't come with an inner sleeve. Has anyone else picked up any sealed records that don't have an inner sleeve? I'd be interested to know. It was a bit, it needed a clean. But then a lot of these sort of records do anyway. Anyway, so yeah, again, Charlie Daniels, it's that sort of funky soul country stuff. Really nice. If you like your country soul and country funk, that's the sort of stuff for you. It's got a great track, Funky Junkie, which I understand was a single. Willie Nelson. This is the soundtrack to The Electric Horseman, a film from 1979, starring Robert Redford and Jane Fonda. Never seen the film. I don't know if it's any good. It's not one I've ever really seen on the telly or anything, so I can't imagine. It's Sidney Pollack though, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, so this is a kind of a game of two halves. The first, there's some pictures from the film, and there's Willie Nelson actually, who's in the film. And there's Willie. And it's a game, like I said, a game of two halves. You've got the first half, which is Willie Nelson's songs, and so this is 70s Willie, really nice stuff. The first track, Midnight Rider, is actually, I think, a Greg Allman composition. I'm not sure if it's an Allman Brothers song, but it's certainly a Greg Allman song. And it's a funky country kind of piece. It's really good. If you're familiar with some of the stuff that Willie Nelson did on like Shotgun Willie and things like that was produced by Jerry Wexler, it's a little bit like that, the funky country. And you've got on here that my heroes have always been cowboys. Mamas don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. So you think you're a cowboy. Hands on the Wheel. I don't know if these were the original releases or the release for those songs. I doubt it. Anyway, the second half is written by what's his name, Dave Grusin, and they are kind of funky, electro kind of instrumental music from the film, and some of it's kind of funky, some of it's kind of blaxploitation a bit, kind of wah-wah guitars and boo waka 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 kind of stuff. Yeah, nice. I'm not sure I'm going to listen to the second side, but the first side is great. Earl Scruggs Review. This is called, what's it called? It's called Bold and New, and that kind of, this is from 1978, no 79, no 78 CBS, and so obviously Earl Scruggs, who was probably one of the greatest banjo players ever, and he certainly developed the banjo perhaps more than any other person with a 3-finger picking style. Obviously Flatt and Scruggs, who were in the one of the early makeups of the Bluegrass Boys with Bill Monroe. And originally, this is about the sort of third or fourth album, I think, by the Earl Scruggs Review. And the earlier albums are kind of country rock. And this is, as the sort of title says, bold and new. It's moving towards more of that sort of polished country that became influenced by the Eagles. The sort of things that in the 80s there was a lot of. And it's moving in that direction. So it's not as good as, for me, it's not as good as their earlier sort of country rock stuff. But it's all right. And in fact, it's kind of a bit weird because Earl Scruggs' banjo kind of doesn't fit with some of it, but they've kind of put it in. But hey, it's got That's All Right Mama on it. What else? Anything else that we know? The games people play. Yeah. Anyway, Earl Scruggs Review. Okay, we've got... actually, interesting thing is there's a guy called Jody Mathis who plays think, bass for them. Now this is his dad, Joe Mathis, and this is Joe Mathis Flat Picking Spectacular. There he is, and this is with what's his face, Merle Travis and Arthur Guitar Boogie Smith, who are, I mean, great country guitar legends really. And this is a double album, a lot of stuff about Joe Mathis in here. Some nice pictures actually. There's him and his wife. What's the name? I've got an album by them. Oh, I can't read it. And then that's him and Merle Travis. And yeah, it's flat picking. He was one of the earliest developers of the flat picking style that would become very, very famous, and some people like Doc Watson would take it on. But Joe Mathis was one of the earliest to sort of really develop the flat picking sound. And yeah, it's nice stuff. It's all kinds of stuff really, all instrumentals, stuff you would expect to hear, like hang on, Silver Threads and Golden Needles. Things you don't expect, like Lara's theme from Dr. Zhivago, but you've also got the Sailor's Hornpipe, Dueling Banjos, which was written by Arthur Guitar Boogie Smith, interestingly enough. And the label, this is from 81, I believe, and it's on the label CMH label, which stands for Country Music Heritage, which actually Arthur Smith, yes, Arthur Smith, not the comedian. There's an English comedian called Arthur Smith. Yeah, he sort of founded the label, was co-founded the label. So nice stuff. Yeah, country picking, banjo, flat picking guitar. 2 records of it. Lovely stuff. Okay, moving on. This is Tut Taylor Dobro Country, featuring Roland and Clarence White. Now, I'm sure people will know the name Clarence White because, of course, he was in the Byrds later on. And Roland and Clarence White brothers were in the Kentucky Colonels. And this also has Billy Ray Latham, who was also in the Kentucky Colonels. Roland White would go on to be in the Dillards as well. I think Billy Ray Latham would be as well. May be wrong with that. And great stuff, Freight Train Boogie, Steel Guitar Rag, Frankie and Johnny, yeah. So that's from 1964. That it's on the Pacific, World Pacific Records, which was Jim Dixon's, Jim Dixon, who was the guy who kind of put the Byrds together and was their first manager. Okay, so yeah, following that we've got, it's kind of similar looking stuff. It's on the World Pacific, so they have a similar kind of style. This is the Folk Swingers 12-string guitar. This is from 63, again on World Pacific Records, and this is produced by James Dixon, or Jim Dixon, as he would later be known. And although it's selling itself as the Folk Swingers, which sounds like a kind of a folky version of, you know, sort of that folk revival kind of stuff. But actually, it's really kind of a scratch band or a load of session players. It's, I suppose, the biggest name on here playing the 12-string guitar on it is Glenn Campbell, of course, one of the members of the what do you call them? The hit, not the hit squad. Oh, say it now, everyone out there. Yeah, that's right. But it's also got Doug Dillard and Rodney Dillard and Dean Webb, who of course were in the Dillards. Rodney Dillard and Doug Dillard will also be record a couple of albums with Gene Clark. Yes. So nice stuff. If I Had a Hammer, Wildwood Flower, the answer is Blowing in the Wind, Bob Dylan. So this is early Bob Dylan being done by the start of 1963. Midnight Special, Cotton Fields, Rye Whiskey, Warbush Cannonball. Yeah, nice stuff. Really nice to have these. Really nice condition to say it's 1963. Okay, a connection to the Dillards. This is Berline, Crary and Hickman. This is a bluegrass album, and Byron Berline, his first recording was with the Dillards as a featured fiddle player. And yeah, so it's fiddle, guitar and banjo. And that's from 1981 on Sugar Hill. Took in the Straw, Bonaparte's Retreat. Yeah, really nice stuff. That's a serious chop it's been given, the deletion chop, isn't it? Not quite seen quite as bad a one as that before. Okay, Mac Davis, I Believe in Music. This is from 1971 on CBS. Now, Mac Davis, for those of you who don't know, started out really as a writer, and he wrote a number of big tunes for Elvis. Probably most notable is In the Ghetto, and a little less conversation, which is on here. This is his second album, and it's a cracking kind of funky version of that song. And in fact, that's kind of one of the reasons why I bought this album, because I really, really, really wanted that version of the song. It's kind of a country soul with some funky kind of stuff going on. There's also a lot of ballads on it. He would become more countrified later on when he hit the big time. Mac Davis, I Believe in Music, 1971. Okay, serious stuff now. This is where we get a bit serious. We've had a little bit of country and all kinds of stuff now, but this is where it gets serious. Okay, this is Adrian Utley's Guitar Orchestra in C. Now, Adrian Utley is the guitarist and sometime producer and co-producer of Portishead, and this is a piece I've written some stuff actually down about this, because this is from 2013 on Invada, on the Invader label. Somebody had posted something about the label on the YouTube channel, and I went and had a look, and they were having a sale, and I saw this, and I thought I'd take a punt. And basically what it is the piece in C was written in 1964 by Terry Riley, who is one of the sort of earliest proponents of minimalist classical music. And the piece itself was written for a indefinite number of performers. I'm going to read this out. Early example, like I said, of minimalist composition. It consists of 53 short numbered musical phrases lasting from half a beat to 32 beats. Each musician, has control over which phrase they play, but each phrase must be repeated an arbitrary number of times. The phrases must be played in order, although some may be skipped. And so it has an indeterminate structure and length. So the idea being is it kind of develops. This is the original version was sort of written for orchestra, and it can be done with all kinds of different instruments. But he's put together, as it says here, a guitar orchestra, and it's not easy listening, certainly not. In fact, what you should really do is you need to sort of turn the lights out and give it your full attention, because it's one of those pieces that, on the face of it, could sound very boring and a bit monotonous. But actually, what happens is as you focus on it more and more, you realise the way it's changing and developing, and new phrases are coming through, and different instruments, different guitars are playing them, and it develops. This lasts probably about 40 something minutes, but it can last anything between 40 minutes and an hour and a half, and technically speaking, it could go on forever. Well, not quite. So yeah, that's in C. It's on rather nice see-through records, 2 discs. Yeah, not normally my thing, but yeah, the missus doesn't like it. She went, "What the bloody hell's that?" But I'm quite pleased I've got that. It's a nice little package, and it's quite an important piece. Okay, couple more to go. This is, I found this at a antique emporium, and it is, I kind of looked at it and thought it looks kind of interesting. I've never seen a record like that, and then the record goes in there. And it's obviously, I'm sure you can tell, Greek. This is, now let's see, I'm going to have a go at this. This is Yannis Markopoulos and Manos Elefthero, and it's called Thithera. Thithera doesn't look like Thithera, and Thithera means it means military service or career, and it's a kind of, I imagine, a kind of a concept album, really. Yannis Markopoulos is the musician, the music, and Manos Elefthero is a poet who did the writing, and it's a nice kind of very folky, traditional Greek sounding, slightly kind of proggy maybe, very light prog, and yeah, it's kind of interesting. I kind of like the back. It's a rather nice looking picture. So yeah, I was pretty pleased with that. I only paid £3 for it, so I gave it a punt, and yeah, that's what I say. I don't know much about it. What I have found is all in Greek. It's all Greek to me. Okay, and finally, I found this at the weekend, and this is Bernstein's America. So this is on Deutsche Grammophon. This is originally recordings from about 1981-82. It's released in 83. It's a double album. And this is a pressing from 88 on the Deutsche Grammophon. And it's got Rhapsody in Blue. It's got On the Town. Aaron Copland's Appalachian Spring, sorry. You've got Samuel Barber's Adagio for Strings, a bit hackneyed. On the Waterfront, music from the film, and the Overture to Candide, which is a Leonard Bernstein composition, and then you've got the Symphonic Dances from West Side Story. So that's West Side Story without the singing, which is really nice. I like that. Big fan of West Side Story itself. And I was pleased to get hold of this because it's some lovely, lovely music, and it finishes with a version of America. So yeah, and as I always find with Deutsche Grammophon records, is they're always in tip-top condition because they were expensive records and people looked after them. There we go. Okay, that's over 20 minutes, I'm afraid. So from my hotel room, out on the road, the lonely life of the long-distance recruit consultant. It's good to get something done while I'm here. It seems purposeful. So until I see you again, bye bye for now.